Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Tolkien. My name's Justin. I've been with the OneRing.net for over a decade now. We've been doing the show for almost 12 years with your host with the most, Clifford Broadway. Oh my God. Hold on, Cliff. I don't think anyone can hear you. Why does this never work? We are live every week. We are live every week. All right. Now, let's give that a go.
Let's try that again. Hey.
Hi. There you
Well,
go.
hello there. Hello there. That's awesome to be introduced with such alacrity and with such an adroit sense of things. Hello there, Justin. It's nice to be here. Look at this. My name is Clifford Broadway, and I'm with my wonderful producer and co-host, Justin. Welcome to the Torn Tuesday live stream. Once again, this is where we are providing the community a big open conversation. And we're glad to have you guys here, coming to us from around the web on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and lots of other great platforms. Welcome to our live chat. We have a hotline, do we not? Why don't we mention that hotline for the folks at home who might like to text us or call us? It's kind of right down there. And there's the little device that Justin is holding. Send us your thoughts and your questions and your messages. Now, my friend, let's get right to the news here for all the
We've got
fans.
so much news. Someone in the
lot.
chat room,
A
the
lot.
Chiv Knight was saying we should. They expect this to be a Green Dragon gossip episode. There is no gossip to be had this week because it's all official news and excitement.
Oh,
and
no.
if you're
Oh, no.
and if you're new to the OneRing.net and Torn Tuesday, there are a lot of podcasts around. We love all of them, whether it's Nerd of the Rings or Tolkien Professor or Fellowship of Fans. Everyone has their little corner of fandom, but we like to cover everything going on in Lord of the Rings world, whether it's books, movies, games. We have spies all over the world, in England, in New Zealand.
Their secrets never to be revealed. That's the magic of how we weave together a tapestry of a little bit of gossip with a lot of secret confirmations, and we keep our sources nice and secret. And welcome to the OneRing.net. That's kind of how we do things around here. I've been with this website for about 22 years. Oh my gosh, is that really real? But yes, as a writer and host, I've been able to see some interesting things with fandom right up front. And there was news that we delivered this past weekend at Los Angeles Comic-Con at our panel presentation called Dispatches from Middle-earth. We returned to Middle-earth with the Rings of Power, and we got to talk about it with fandom. Our first time, really, as myself, speaking for myself and other West Coast volunteers for the OneRing.net, it really was our first time talking with the fandom post season 1, after we got to see all the episodes.
That's right. It's the
Rings of
first
Power.
convention after the season 1 released, and I remember last week, folks. If you were here last week, we were at live at Scum and Villainy, and we had, boy, did we have some gossip, didn't we, Cliff?
We did.
And I saw a ton of Reddit threads after our show last week of Torn is reporting that Adar is being recast and Sauron will be. Well, folks, guess what?
It actually happened.
It happened. So sometimes we know what we're talking about, and we like to give you guys a heads up.
I want to extend one small programming apology, an editorial apology to Kate Welch, who was waiting to join us in the Zoom last week, and we were not able to use the tech. It wasn't set up properly.
Oh, is she here today?
Not today. I just wanted to put that
okay.
one to say it was such.
Yeah, there was a big D&D game that everybody
so
at
cool.
LA Comic-Con got to watch with
so cool.
with Sala Baker and a bunch of other wonderful actors playing a Lord of the Rings version of
This is
5th edition.
Look at this cool miniature that I got from The Lost Odyssey, The Tale of the Red Scribe. This is the program. It was really a cool recording session.
That's great. Devil Hunter,
cool
we're going to get
miniature.
into that in a minute.
Really good stuff.
Cliff, we have so much news to talk about.
Let's go.
But before we get into that, I I just want to get your feedback to the big news that was last week. There was a bunch of new actors announced as cast, but I want to get your opinion on Adar being recast, Joseph Mall leaving the show. Are you surprised? Are you concerned? Is this just a normal course of television production? Sometimes you lose an actor. Sometimes it's over pay. Sometimes it's over money or scheduling, or they booked a Marvel movie and they can't come back. I think more actors are going to get recast.
Sometimes it's over creative differences. Certainly,
that's right.
There are so many exigencies that could be, around the story. Though there hovers a wreath of some kind of smoke, some kind of essence, and where there's a smoke, there may or may not be a fire. I don't know, but the story isn't entirely comfortable because I had understood that Joseph wanted, as he continued to work, so dedicated and lovingly work with that unit, with Jed Brophy and all the other actors who were the orcs and the uruks, all the amazing work that they did with prosthetics, effects, and makeup. I got the sense from rumors and things I'm hearing in the background that Joseph wanted the story of the uruks to be brought to a higher plane, and that a lot of the great material that they did was cut. Some of their best work was cut, and he wasn't happy to work with all that stuff just disappearing and never to be seen again. The other weird whisper that I'm hearing is that there was some difficulties with his hearing disability, and that some folks on the production were not necessarily wanting to be accommodating. And I don't know, I cannot confirm that. That is just hearsay that's floating around the room. But it for what it's worth, and it might be worth nothing at all, it certainly puts a different color on things, perhaps. That he was with a deaf, hard of hearing castmates and with other people who are working with other non-hearing impaired individuals. Sometimes you've got to make accommodations, and sometimes things have to be done with a certain delicate or more deliberate sense of getting things done to help them around difficulties that might come up on a very busy set. And I just got word and rumors that the production wasn't being entirely accommodating, and so there was mischief somewhere. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'll ever get to the bottom of it, but that's what I'm hearing, and I'm so sorry to see him go. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's in that mixed bag of how we responded to season 1 of Rings of Power. Much love and appreciation for a lot of it, and feeling a little sketch about some of the writers' choices in the writers' room. It was a delicious
about Adar's.
Adar.
I thought Adar was written the best. I thought
what I'm getting at.
Character was one of the best things about the show.
I'd agree with that. And in fact, in support of that idea, I was just trying to lay out that among a rather mixed bag of new characters and new writing situations, his storyline was the best, the strongest, aside from Durin and Prince Durin and Elrond and Disa and that relationship. But
and
Adar
I will say,
was really well written, very well.
His performance, Joseph Mall's performance, it was one of the best of season 1, and I will say that
clearly,
I will say that Adar added the best part of the Legendarium. Adar and Joseph expanded Tolkien's mythology the best of anything in the show. When he talks about wanting to create a home for his uruks, and that his creature, his race of people deserve their own land. Are they not equal in stature to every other created being in Middle-earth?
Even making it apparent in the dialogue that he had a linguistic preference. A linguistic preference. No, it wasn't an emotional, it was a linguistic preference for how they would be referred to as Uruks, which was at this point a new character, a non-canon, brand new character. I think that was introduced at the highest level. It was great stuff. The writing around the character was great. The all the strangeness and the mysteries that happened in season 1 of Rings of Power. I think the mystery of Adar was the only one that I most appreciated.
It's the only one I like, not most. The only one I appreciated. You don't even have to qualify that.
Okay,
all the other mystery boxes, get rid of all the other mystery boxes. All right, Adar was awesome.
That was awesome. I agree, and that
And to answer a few people in the chat room, Daisy, they did sign every actor to multi-year, up to 10-year employment contracts. But there is always an option. If things don't get along, there's always an option for the producers to say goodbye or an actor to leave the show. But the fact is they did hire him with intent for a long term. Also, he was one of the fan favorites going into season 1 because he's Benjen Stark. He's Uncle Ben. He's from Game of Thrones. He is one of the biggest and most successful television resumes of all the cast of Rings of Power. And it's shocking that they went. We have a comment from Joseph Mall. Etchings, readings, pictures, and pentax. As the sun departs in its fabric lay a hope, be it missed or hit. I loved my Tolkien adventure. Thank you, John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. And he posted this on October 6th, and then just this week, or just last week, Joseph says, I loved my time exploring Middle Earth and diving into Tolkien's mythology. I'm so honored that that the character was liked. He's listening, folks. Keep tagging him on social media because he's listening. He cared deeply about telling you his story. Adar cared deeply about telling you his story. Though as an actor, it remains my wish, my job description to explore new characters and worlds. Wishing all the best to cast and crew for season 2. I'll be cheering you on from the sidelines.
And I do believe it is Sam Hazeldine, who is the new actor who's going to be replacing Joseph in the series. He has credits from Peaky Blinders on the BBC, Slow Horses on Apple TV, The Huntsman, Winter's War, and he was also recently in Ridley Scott's much maligned The Last Duel. He currently appears in The Sandman. Now, I'm a big Sandman fan. Obviously, I just had a remarkable experience bumping into some of the cast members of The Sandman just yesterday here in Los Angeles. And but it says right here, he will be seen in the upcoming Band of Brothers sequel, Masters of the Air, opposite Austin Butler and Callum Turner. And how about that? He's also going to be in a Beautiful Imperfection. And there is Sam Hazeldine now going to replace our dear Joseph. Well, welcome, Sam. It's always good to have Sam Wise joining the production. Anybody named Sam working on a Tolkien project probably gets an extra gold star just for that simple correlation. I don't know why, but that's the way we think. But you've got big shoes to fill, Mr. Hazeldine. We're all very fond of Joseph. He was great. But welcome aboard and wish you the best of luck.
They did find an actor that shares a similarity. Let's go back and forth real quick. There's the new Adar, and there's the season 1 Adar. So they found someone that might be able to pull it off. But the fact is, Joseph's performance was fantastic. It was understated. You really felt that this was a fallen elf that had been beaten down by the odds. The gods and the odds, and you felt that he was this was a character that really was not out for power or prestige or money. This was just someone that wanted to do right by his people and seeing himself in his people these fallen creatures who don't get no respect.
And that since most interesting really is that here's the core conversation that is most interesting, that an elf, like an elf who was not an orc, is tortured and tormented by dark necromancy to become one of the very first orcs 1.0. You could call, like I said at the convention, it was what I call the first version of the software for orcs. And yet he doesn't identify with Galadriel or the Noldor. He identifies with a completely subserved race of orcs, as if they are his own, as if that is his familial bond, his spiritual bond, his interest, his ambition. It's all in the race of Uruks. So yeah, it was highly, highly interesting. Probably an area of writing that the showrunners introduced that could have been the most fruitful. Fruitful storyline investigating an elf who is no longer an elf. But look at Adar, and look at how different Adar is. He's not completely mutated to being orcish, like
right.
The one,
and
like
and
the one
he
that
can
Jed
deal
Brophy
with the
plays.
sun. And he was telling the Uruks,
Yes.
I wish you could feel what I feel with this sun. My final thought on
It's
Adar
fascinating.
being recasting is
Fascinating
that obviously, based on the amount of press releases that Amazon has put out, and the Superfans video and everything that Amazon has done celebrating their diversity in casting, I was really excited to see a deaf actor here, or a hard of hearing actor with an actual disability being celebrated, and the stories we're hearing that there was not a lot of accommodation for him as an actor on set. And I honestly think the writers could have written the hard of hearing into the character moving forward.
Yes, very much so. Yes, very much so.
And I have to wonder, did they intend to make his hearing loss part of the character? Because the last time we see Adar is his orc lieutenant saying, "What should we call it?" And he doesn't respond. He doesn't look back. He doesn't even vocalize an answer. Adar, it does not acknowledge that he's being talked to. And that's the final scene we see. And a lot of people complained how, then the camera pans up and the text on screen changes to Mordor. And that was kind of a cop-out from a filmmaking thing. I still think that. But I do think maybe the directors and the writers had planned on incorporating his loss of hearing into the character, which would have been wonderful.
Yeah,
so,
it would have been. I like the way you think, for once.
Yeah, the Chiv Knight says in the Mount Doom destroyed his eardrums. That's an interesting, So look, we're fans. We're gonna give Sam a chance because we appreciate everybody that comes into Middle Earth, and we hope for the best. And Joseph, I hope one day we get to chat and hear about how much you love Tolkien and how much of your passion for Tolkien you put into the character, because we as fans see it on screen. Cliff, the other big news besides that was last week was all of the new castings.
Yes.
We got Ben Daniels, we got Yazin Aitor, we got Gabriel. I'm sorry.
I'm not sorry. I successfully pronunciated his name at the convention. It's Gabriel. Gabriel Akuudike. Try it with me now. Akuudike.
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 Akuudike. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Akuudike.
Yeah, and you know what? He's awesome. You know what I like the most is this fun speculation that instantly started around Gabriel, that he might be the missing husband of Galadriel. This might be our Celeborn. Or...
Wow, that would be a choice.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Do you think Yazin Aitor could be the big bearded Círdan.
Actually, I think he might be one of the another. I got a feeling maybe that we're going further into the east of Rune. Just the way the Stranger and Nori were talking about it at the end of season 1, and he might be one of our very first lead characters in a new region in the far east. And coincidentally, the word Hrun with that big, cedilla or whatever it's called, the hypercritical mark over the letter U, that's just the Elvish word for east. Okay. Wouldn't that be interesting if Mr. Atur, known for his role as Cohen in season 2 of The Witcher, he's also
Aravandi in the chat room says he'd be a very handsome Celeborn.
Yeah. This would be really cool if Yasin Zaitz Atur is going to be maybe a chieftain or a leader or a chieftain of some kind of kingdom in Rune. That'd be really cool.
Who is Nia Toll? She was in Neil Gaiman's Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I was trying to go to while I was in London.
I thought you would. I thought you would have gotten tickets for that.
Of Gondor says the blonde girl, Amelia Kenworthy, could be Elrond's future wife.
Oh.
Arwen is not blonde. And Elrond's hair is already kind of light. It's not dark like Hugo Weaving. Ooh. Do you think that they would? No. Aravandi says she absolutely looks like Celebrian.
Yeah, Celebrian. She does look like Celebrian. She would be a great choice for Celebrian.
Interesting.
But she does look. She looks like one of the Fae. That light in her eyes. She could definitely be anyone from the other side of the Fae realm. And Professor Tolkien, in his great essay on fairy stories, leads us intellectually on a very strong, comprehensive journey on the power of fairy stories and how we as people in the primary world respond to them. And when I look at Amelia, I look at Amelia's eyes, I'm instantly kind of hypnotized a little bit. There's this otherworldly quality that would make her a great elf. She's definitely got that quality of being elfin and otherworldly. It's really remarkable, isn't it? That's wonderful. A great casting choice, really.
Yeah. Well, and then just posted on our Facebook page, Sadwin Brophy, who might have a connection to Rings of Power, posted this on our Facebook page in response to our post about Joseph Mall. He says, Joseph is leaving the series because he was unhappy with how much story of the orcs they cut out. He felt disrespected with how much he put into the character, only to have a majority of it cut from the series.
All right. Well, there's some dirt right there.
Cliff, the interesting thing is Amazon made a big deal about 22 main character actors. They brought 22 actors to Comic-Con. We went to all those premieres in New York and London. Such a huge cast. And they felt that the show was so bloated that they had to cut out the Uruk and Orc storylines, which happened to be the thing fans responded to the most. Not only fans, happened to be the thing that the actors seemed to like to do the most. And I don't know. I feel like there's a lack of communication on the show of explaining to Joseph why, maybe why a lot of his stuff got cut. It's a bummer. We've heard from other orc actors that they filmed a lot. And here's the other thing that I heard was difficult for Joseph was because he's hard of hearing, he had a hard time reading the lips of the other orc actors because their faces were buried in prosthetics.
Right.
So, as a hard of hearing, a lot of hard of hearing people read lips to respond and have a conversation. And if you can't see their lips or read their lips because they're buried under all the makeup, that could be a tough thing. And then the other thing we heard from some of the orc actors is they never saw the documentary crews capturing behind the scenes for the orcs.
Oh.
So
And
in
that's
all
intriguing.
So not only were the orcs and the uruks treated as second or third class citizens in Middle Earth in the lore, the uruks and the orcs have been treated as second class citizens in the production.
Wow. So that correlation goes far, doesn't it? That's just so. I don't know.
So
Wow.
I hope Amazon has listened to the fans and sees that we really want to hear about the orcs and the orc culture, and we want them fully fleshed out. Like, treat them as a main storyline because they are.
They are indeed. And well, you're going into some of the most interesting territory of brand new non-canon stuff. And what you're doing is most interesting. And to build it all and put all the seeds in place, literally, there's an opening episode where Adar is literally putting the seeds in the soil. And that could be, a metaphor for what the writers were doing with the orcs storyline. But to have it so built up and not to follow through with it would be criminal. I'm assuming that we're going to have a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff about all the prosthetics, makeup, and the hard physical work that Weta, the team.
According to the orcs, they never saw.
Really?
They never saw the documentary crew capturing behind the scenes of any of that stuff.
If that were true, what a missed opportunity. If that were true, wow.
Yeah, it's we like the orcs. We like Joseph. Someone in the chat room, I just saw a comment of Gondor in the chat room says it feels like the showrunners are starting to abandon storylines. This is what I'm concerned about. Is if in season 1 the showrunners and the editors determined that there just was too much going on, and they cut out all of the orc and uruk storyline. What makes me nervous is we just got a casting announcement with 8 new actors. They've added 8 new actors that they're announcing, and there's been some questions on Reddit is asking, is this the only additional cast? And I can tell you that there will be future announcements of additional casts.
That is reasonable to expect. Yes.
That is
reasonable to expect. Yes.
Remember, we're going to Rune.
Yep.
In season 1, we didn't meet any of the kings of dwarves that are going to get corrupted by rings. 7 dwarves. We didn't meet any of the 9 leaders of men that get corrupted by rings. There's plus we didn't meet the shipwright.
At least that we know of. At least that we know of.
Elrond's not attached to a person. Galadriel's not attached to a person. Nobody has children. So there are dozens and dozens and dozens of characters that are critical to the storyline. So that we haven't even been introduced yet. As big as the cast was in season 1, we didn't actually meet any of the characters that are important to the story of Sauron.
Well, Círdan the shipwright is confirmed. And wouldn't it be great if out of that news announcement that the veteran English actor Nicholas Woodson would be able to come up and step into the role of the only elf, the only one of those elves old enough that Tolkien described him having a beard. It's the beards. It's the beards. You want to talk about all the dwarf women not having enough beards? You know what? This is the guy. If he's going to really be Círdan the shipwright, and these new characters are coming on stage, imagine him being the only bearded one of the great Noldorin. How cool would that be? But
Otaku wants to correct me and tell in the chat room, say elves do not remarry. Folks, this is a TV show adaptation, and in my TV show, anyone can get unmarried, remarried, married for the first time. We don't know.
we don't know. And you know what? With all the other things that they've done in season one that are not quite exactly the way that Tolkien wrote it, if you can make 3 rings before you make the 7 or the 9, if you're going to do that, then it's possible for characters to remarry. Sorry, not that we have to like it. I mean, as a fandom, we don't necessarily have to like it, but, the things are going to happen that may be surprising. And yes, Justin, getting back to your earlier point about certain characters being taken off stage for the sake of introducing a bunch of new people and new characters, I hear your grievance, and I understand what you're saying. With Adar's storyline versus Sauron is one of the more interesting secrets that the show has kept. I mean, when Adar saw Halbrand, did he recognize him as Halbrand, or did he recognize him as Sauron? Still an unanswered question. At the end of season 1, we still don't know. But Halbrand was ready to kill Adar. And it took barely a second of intervention from Galadriel to stop that and say, no, we need him alive. But that is a fascinating story in itself, that some characters are going to go off stage, like we reported last Tuesday, a Rondir, played by Ismael Cruz Cordova, is not going to be. So
that was a big controversial thing, and again, no one has heard. That was just Green Dragon gossip. We don't have any confirmation, yes or no.
Okay.
But I do have a quote.
That's fair.
But we have the big news today, Cliff. I don't know if you checked Twitter this morning or this afternoon, but huge news. Ismael Cruz Cordova has been nominated for Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. He is the only nomination for Rings of Power on the Critics' Choice Awards.
That's excellent. I did not see that. Well, wow. That's great news. Really, really great news. Yeah, well, like I said, he smolders. He smolders when he's on screen, and there's like a completely real, believable intensity in his eyes, in everything that he says, and every look on his face. And I thought it was brilliant. And if the rumor that we reported is true, and he's not around in season 2, then that'd be a bummer, because he's such an electrifying personality to watch on screen. He really is.
I think he's going to get nominated for more awards, Cliff. So the question is, you know how award season goes. We know he's not filming right now because he's on the awards beat. Should he stay on the awards beat? And should he stay in LA and try to get more press and do these things?
Yes, sure. Great. Please do. Absolutely. If he is not going to be working on season 2, and they're going to bring him back for seasons 3, 4, and 5, then he might as well take the time off and maximize. This show is lifting his profile. Absolutely. He should dig in and go for it.
Cliff, how important is the Critics' Choice Awards for future nominations?
They're an interesting litmus test. It's kind of like the early Iowa caucuses as an early litmus test of what the mixture of feelings are from the voting body of the American public. And it's kind of like Iowa would be used as a microcosm. You could look at early Critics' Choice and early awards announcements that come out from the unions. We're talking about, guess what's coming out next? Screen Actors Guild Awards. Then there will be DGA, Directors Guild Awards. All these unions that represent industry people are going to start having their own different circles of year-end awards given away. And this is one of the very first.
This is important because critics have been are very hard to please, and critics often go for like very dramatic or long-term actors that have never got their due. It's very rare to have a newcomer come on board,
Yeah.
an unknown actor, and get recognition like this. So being nominated is huge, and it's huge that he is the only nomination for the show. They did not get any other nominations.
You know what? They should have given him more dialogue. They should have given him more scenes. Really. I mean, this dude walked up to a tree in tears and apologized to the damn tree. That was the most Tolkien thing. It was the most fidelity to Tolkien moment in the show. Yeah. He's great. He's really great. And
someone in the chat room was asking about another thing we reported on about Sauron being played by multiple actors. Again, wait till you see. Charlie Vickers recently did an interview. I'm going to try to find it for next week. But he basically said, by no means is my performance the definitive Sauron.
Okay. How do we take that information? Does that mean it supports what we were rumoring?
Charlie is already telling the press, by no means am I the definitive Sauron.
That's right. Well, that means there's other actors or actresses who are going to come in and play Sauron in different seasons. The identity of this person is changeable. It is malleable. Sauron can appear.
And it's true to Tolkien.
Yes.
He took many forms. He could be a woman. This could be a whole Loki TV show situation where every episode is a different Sauron. I enjoyed that about Loki, by the way. That was fun. Mm-hmm. It made the show fun.
I agree.
And I feel like Lord of the Rings of Power is not fun enough. It doesn't have any fun. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this many times, and it's one of the reasons I really enjoy the new Willow TV show. It remembers that it's okay to have fun.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, well, not every joke worked in the Rings of Power. Some of the jokes worked rather weirdly. Like when
there were no jokes. It was too serious for its own good.
Yeah, like when Elendil was standing there in court. And the Queen Regent asks, "Are you until Elendil becomes a great lord of whatever?" And he says, "Well, just a minor lord, actually." And he giggles to himself.
That
nobody
was
laughs.
Not a joke. Yeah, well, no one laughs because it's not a joke. All right, moving on.
I was just saying it didn't work. Actually.
We've got so much news. All right, we reported on this over a month ago, folks. This is the burnt-out Mordor set that they've built in the backwoods of England near Surrey. And we've got new updates from the folks at Redanian Intelligence, a new Mordor set photo. This is obviously post-volcano Mordor, right? So this looks familiar. This looks like the human settlements that we've seen before that have been burned up. They are filming at, Frenshin Little Pond, Rings of Power. It says one of the possible cast members there is described as a young boy wearing brown curly hair. Obviously, you can't see anything because the camera lens is not too big. But Fellowship of Fans got a hold of this video of a drone. That's a drone in the air filming actors walking through a forest. That young boy that was just described, he has curly hair, brown curly hair, is in tattered clothes. He's a young boy, and it's a walking scene. And then the latest update today is actors are spotted on set. This is a huge set, obviously, and looks like Galadriel and Elrond are there on set.
Oh, cool.
Let's see if we can bring this up. So Galadriel and Elrond. Galadriel with her hair braided up as described by Tolkien. And Elrond is in there somewhere. And then a few other elves. Elf
That's
scenes.
super cool. That is very cool indeed.
Finrod says in the chat room, I want to see Greenwood and Thranduil and Orifer. Cliff, are those characters that should be in the Second Age?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see those characters. I tell you what, there's a lot of new dwarves and new elves, because even when we were in Eregion, where the rings were being made, I didn't see lots and lots of people in the backgrounds, like Numenor. Numenor was well thrown down with lots of extras, lots of people in all the backgrounds, but you didn't see elves in the backgrounds in Eregion, where you really didn't, not like you saw in Numenor. And maybe that was a COVID thing, and they didn't have time to get lots of elf extras. But we're going to be meeting lots of new people and getting into more detailed locations. And really looking forward to that. And those characters that they mentioned also be very, very welcome. I am...
Should Galadriel and Elrond still be on an adventure together, Cliff?
They have many, many interactions together. Are you kidding? There's marriage, there's family ties that bring those two individuals together. Yeah, okay, come on. Seriously? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but Elrond is not going to stay single his whole life.
Cliff, did you see that Twitter thread that got everybody angry this weekend, calling Galadriel a Mary Sue?
Yeah, there was this writer who tries to sell his services as a ghostwriter, and he did the most dismal thing at self-promotion by trying to promote himself as a writer. Hire me, I can help you on your writing project. He ended up doing the most dismal, crappy take on female characters that revealed how completely out of touch he was with how women are as free-thinking individuals, and completely out of touch. And it was hilarious. But what was more interesting was the amount of other people and writers and people in the business who responded to that. That the waves of conversation outside of his stupid take were more interesting, I think.
Yeah, it was a trash take. So that's the latest update from England. We've got drones and little boys with tattered clothes and
filming in the countryside. The drones are there.
Should Elrond and Galadriel be in Mordor, or do you think they're in a different forest? Where do they end up? Because doesn't Galadriel want to own her own land at some point, or forest?
Well, it's called Lothlorien. That's where we end up. I wonder what is going to happen with Galadriel wanting to go back to Mordor a second time with the Númenóreans. Now, I predicted at our panel presentation this weekend at LA Comic-Con that the power grab in Númenor is going to happen in season 2, where Pharazôn tries to take power away from Queen Regent Miriel because of what happened to her. Suddenly she's blind, she's lost her vision, lost her sight, and so Pharazôn is going to have this probably predictable but very interesting attempt to take complete political power and rulership of Númenor away from her because her father's dead now. Wouldn't be interesting, won't it? That means that the Númenóreans might not even come back.
So you think
they might not come back?
Do we think that the story continues forward in season 2? Because remember, we had this rumor a few weeks ago that season 2 would be Sauron's story, basically retell how he got to that raft, and it would be a flashback season, which would make sense of why we don't see Arondir if season 2 is going to be more of a flashback. Do you think that the story goes forward and you see this political intrigue?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be lots of flashbacks.
No,
unless they did a little bit of flashbacks to the First Age, and they showed that flashbacking was not their style.
Yeah.
All through season 1, they didn't rely on that technique of writing. So why would they do that now?
One of the things that you got me excited about before Rings of Power in the last couple of years is this idea that Numenor were traders. Trader Joe, trading, not traitors, traders, and they ended up needing all these resources, and so they enabled like the felling of forests, and you know I don't know, you had described Numenor as exacerbating the demise of the ecological balance of Middle Earth.
Yeah, that's very true. It didn't start off that way. It started off with the Numenorians arriving early in the Second Age, and they were explorers. It was wonderful. They were just explorers, having a great time and making contact with new shores and new horizons. And then they started settling, and they settled. And then, centuries later, they were taking resources, chopping down trees, a lot of trees, to build their ships. And it was all about resources. And then it became about, colonialization. And they became colonizers. And then, near the end of the Second Age, instead of coming to help the men of Middle Earth in a very helpful and altruistic way, they were then demanding tribute. And the essence of everything got worse and worse and worse and worse.
They
ended up demanding tribute from people on Middle Earth shores.
So I got none of that in season 1. I didn't get any sense that they were trading.
Nope.
Because and the thing that I love about Peter Jackson is that he knows how to introduce a character immediately, and within like 30 seconds, we understand that Bard the Bowman is a traitor amongst the people of Lake Town, and he knows how to sneak those dwarves in,
Yes.
with the barrels of fish and stuff like that. Like
He's a tradesman.
He's a tradesman, right? Right.
Yes.
You get this feeling that he is a tradesman because he has to be, right? And Lake Town is in this weird thing where you've got elves of Mirkwood, and you've got and there's things going on and stuff like that. So within a very, very short amount of time, you totally understand that Bard is a tradesman. I don't get that feeling. Everything you just described about Numenor, I don't get any of that. And how many hours? We spent 3 dang episodes. We spent 3 episodes in Numenor. I got no sense that these were people that built their ships out of wood of Middle Earth, maybe for a reason, because the wood may be better. I got no sense that they were colonizers. I got no sense that they were explorers even.
Yeah, they didn't give us that overall. That is an overall evolutionary arc. What I described was an entire Second Age evolutionary arc of the Numenorians going from benevolent explorers to tradespeople and fluid traders, constantly helping commerce and economic exchange between people and bringing the benefits of agricultural teachings, irrigation techniques, and their own technology to help the men of mainland Middle Earth. All that stuff that was beneficial and helpful, the meter ended up turning this way, and the meter went all the way to the red zone over the Second Age, where they ended up demanding taxes, demanding tribute, and then ultimately raising the land where, like our wonderful chat room just said.
That's an interesting story.
Listen, Fangorn used to be a forest that stretched all the way from the mountains to the Shire before the Numenorians arrived and deforested all of Eriador. All of it. It's crazy how big the deforestation thing was. And we got to get some sense of that, but we didn't get a sense of that larger story arc in season 1. But it is in there. It's in the appendices. It's in there.
Huh. Dan Edwards in the chat room says Numenor became what they ended up over many centuries.
That is correct. That is the correct way to say that. Yes.
And you know what? They've done the showrunners have done a lot of work to tell us that the time compression is a thing. So I'm okay with compressing a story, the storyline of Numenor. But I feel like, man, Numenor was just wasted on season 1. Like it had no purpose of being in season 1.
Well, set up.
It had nothing to do.
Setting
up what?
Set up.
Like Bard the Bowman
within
2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, we knew Bard the Bowman's history. We knew his trade. We knew he was skilled at it.
We knew he was a widower, which was not something that Tolkien told us about in the book. Right. So you know what? That's the writer's job.
Efficiency of writing.
It's the writer's job.
There's so much story to tell. Again, Sauron has to make 15 rings and find a way to distribute them, as well as drive the fall of Numenor and everything else. Like there's so much to go on. The next 4 seasons should not be boring whatsoever. This show has to move at a clip.
I agree. With all the setup that we did get in season 1, what I was leading to was the ultimate conclusion that you all know is there. Payoff. Are we talking about television as an idiom of writing? It's not the same as writing a play. It's not the same as writing a feature film. It's certainly not the same as writing a 1,200-page novel. It's not the same. So if they're doing all the setups, it is because there will be payoff. Like I said,
it's just crazy that
it's the way writers write for television. But it doesn't mean that it can't get better. It doesn't mean that it can't really get better. I mean, look, there's been some great stuff in the atmosphere of science fiction, fantasy, nerd entertainment. We've got Andor. We've got The Sandman. We've got we had that late season, season of The Witcher.
Andor was nominated for Best Show on the Critics' Choice Awards.
We've got
House of the Dragon was nominated.
House of the Dragon, obviously, and The Rings of Power. We've got The Rings of Power here right now in what I would call a highly competitive field for genre entertainment. The bar has been set very high by everybody around. It's not just Rings of Power trying to set a really high bar for itself. Rings of Power is not existing in a vacuum. It's coming out now with The Sandman and House of Dragon and Andor and everything else all around it, and people are responding to Rings of Power in a bouncing the energy.
And
Willow now as well. So it's all happening. It's all happening right now, and Willow would not be available for this year's. I think because of the timing. Willow would be in next year's Emmys, not this year.
Yeah, that's right.
When it was released. So here you go.
Here you go.
It is what you call award season.
It's just shocking. It's just shocking to me. On season 1, we had 8 hours of Rings of Power. We have 20 rings to create and a civilization to destroy, and we haven't met any of the ring bearers. Except Galadriel and Elrond. We haven't met any of the future Nazgul. We haven't been exposed to a part of Numenor society that would make us fall in love with it, that would make us lament its destruction.
Meaning we haven't met the faithful who live on the western side of the island continent. Except for Elendil and Elendil's immediate family, and not even his daughter. His daughter, who's a new non-canon character, doesn't seem interested in being faithful towards the Valar at all. But
Dan says,
we haven't met them yet.
Dan says Andor's pretty good, but half the show put me to sleep. Andor does walk a slow pace, but its slow pace was better than Rings of Power's slow pace, especially episodes 3 to 5. Come on, Andor was more interesting to watch, and maybe because Andor was only like 30 minutes or 45-minute episodes. Also, the best part about Andor, Andy Serkis. How have we not talked about Andy Serkis in Andor? He was a shining star in a show about rebellion, and talk about having a character that has a full arc, from being a part of the machine to destroying the machine.
Yep, that was an amazing arc for Andy. And I like I said on Twitter, it feels like we've been cheated for decades because of his digital work on digital characters. And I kind of feel like we've been cheated seeing his immaculate face, and his acting is so brilliant.
Oh man.
But also it's worth mentioning, thank you again of Gondor, it's worth mentioning that Elrond is not the first recipient of one of those 3 elven rings. One of them goes to Círdan the shipwright.
Who again we haven't met. We haven't met any of the ring bearers. Period.
One of them goes to the High King Gil-galad, and one of them goes to Galadriel. So yes, we've met Gil-galad, and we've met. There's one missing. The one missing is Círdan. He's off stage.
Right, yeah. So it's just in a show called Rings of Power, you would think they would start setting up the characters that get corrupted by the Rings of Power. You would think that the season 1 was for anyway. Moving on. Cliff, we have some other big news today. This is
other big news. Let's bring it.
Breaking news. Folks, you are looking at the brand new, just unveiled Amazon Volume. This is a huge 3-story, 30-foot tall digital production stage. Those are all 4K and 8K LED screens. Amazon has built their own Mandalorian type set for all future shows, including Rings of Power. This one, the first one that they've built, is here in Los Angeles at Amazon's Culver City Studios.
Their own volume. It's called a volume.
It's called. Right? They didn't use the word volume because I think Disney has a trademark on calling theirs the volume.
Industrial Light and Magic, I believe, invented that, so that's why that's called the volume.
Yeah, so it's not built by Industrial Light and Magic. They've built something separate. So they're not using any of the language that Disney uses. Wheat Bricks asks, how did Amazon pay for that? Well, Merry Christmas. I hope you do all your Christmas shopping on Amazon. This is not a shot of the beach in Venice. This is literally standing on the stage. Those are all digital screens, folks. You can see the spot where the sun should be is off balance because that's it. That is an actual. It is so impressive. These are 8K screens, LED wall screens, and it is seamless.
That's cool.
It is when you walk on the stage, like you're like, okay, cool, the screen, and then when you get there and you feel the sand under your shoes, and you see that that wall is fake, guys. That wall is on the screen. The only thing that's real in this shot are the tires and the car. Everything else is part of the screen.
Wow, that's intriguing. That's really interesting.
So you can imagine the potential for actors to act against the volcano. Imagine if Rings of Power Season 1 did not use green screen and they were actually reacting to a volcano exploding. You might have got a different performance out of the actors.
Indeed.
With a whole cloud of ash coming toward them.
Wow.
This enables actors on set to see what they're supposed to see. And this is definitely an improvement on green screen.
Says Iravandi.
It's just a stunning piece of technology. And this wall.
We reported rumors years ago that some technicians from ILM went down to New Zealand and were building a volume set for them to use for Rings of Power. So turns out that was not true.
ILM was the number one visual effects vendor on season 1. So yes, ILM was involved on season 1. No, they did not build the volume, and I hear that's because they couldn't import the equipment because of COVID. COVID caused a lot of drama.
Oh, I get it.
So this is an incredible setup. And Cliff, not to get too technical and in the weeds, the incredible thing about this set is that it is anyone that's watched the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, you can see that they're using a video game engine to power the graphics.
Yes.
The Amazon studio, their video game servers are in the cloud at AWS, Amazon Web Services. So all of the graphics are powered by a big cloud graphics server that is more powerful than any Unity machine you could build and install on premises. So they're using a whole server farm of GeForce enabled computers. So basically,
Wow.
graphics people can be anywhere in the world updating the 3D graphics in real time and push it to the set. And it's all Unreal Engine 5. And it's going to be,
Wow.
it's amazing. So congrats to Amazon. They just opened the doors to that today. Or yesterday. So really excited to show you guys that's future. Will they be shooting Lord of the Rings in LA on this stage? Great question. Cliff, would you like to see that?
Yes, very much. That would be such a weird and interesting surprise. But then again, Jon Favreau created the Jungle Book and didn't step 1 foot into the jungle. It was all shot in downtown Los Angeles. All of it.
You know what I would like to see?
So stranger things have happened.
I think Amazon has earned its good reputation of using practical effects and practical orcs and makeup and effects and shooting on location and shooting in New Zealand and now shooting in England. And we just saw that they're shooting in the forests, and they're building outdoor sets. So they've earned the right to move production to Los Angeles, shoot a bunch of stuff on that new digital stage, and then invite some fan press like Nerd of the Rings, Tolkien Professor, Tea with Tolkien, Happy Hobbit, and whoever else.
Voice of Geekdom, Men of the West, The Broken Sword, and maybe the OneRing.net. That'd be a great visit. That would be a really great set visit.
Cliff, you did set visits for Lord of the Rings, and it was fun to see the huge Gondor walls and these huge practical sets. In the year 2022 or 2023, I think the fans would get just as excited, maybe even more excited, to walk into that digital set. Don't you think?
Absolutely, I'd be thrilled.
Imagine this had the Lord of the Rings graphics on it. And they invited all of these influencers to come hang out in a digital Middle Earth for a day. We'd
be in the middle of an interview, and suddenly someone would turn on the volcano erupting, and we'd all freak our shit, and we would just all freak out. That would be so funny. Forgive my language, but wouldn't that be hilarious if we were all sitting there doing an interview, and suddenly they surprise us or scare us with some wild storm or the volcano blowing up? That'd be hilarious.
Yes.
Here so if the thing is the exceptional price that they're paying on this production means that they're going to get it done, and they're going to get it done in a cost-efficient way, and most of it is happening in the UK. However, that they're not going to take this technology and move it all the way over to the UK. So maybe they will, possibly.
Not yet. They're still building those sound stages. Remember, folks, I gave you photos back in October of the new sound stages that Amazon is building. It's not quite ready yet.
That represents a whole new infrastructure. Excuse me. Maybe they could have components like that and have their new projection block device in there.
Maybe. You just muted. I don't know what happened to your audio there.
Oh, that's me.
No, you're there.
Control.
So, Cliff, speaking of visiting cool places, our final thing today, folks, is
today. Is that
today?
Your accent? Today,
we are happy to announce the one and only Hobbiton in New Zealand is now on Airbnb for real.
Isn't
Guys,
beautiful?
this is not a joke. This is not an April's Fool's joke.
That's beautiful.
The Hobbiton, the owners of the Hobbiton are redoing all the Hobbit holes to be actual guest rooms with beds that you could book on Airbnb. This is the real deal, folks. For the first time ever, you can book a stay at Hobbiton movie set, and you can wake up and open your big Hobbit hole door and see this in the morning.
It's so beautiful. It was our very own Chelsea Schwartz, our previous co-host, who alerted me to this today.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you, Chelsea, for bringing me the news. There's an Airbnb experience in Mata, New Zealand, unlike any other. Do you believe that? Take a look at that.
So it's huge with sweeping views of the Shire. They'll enjoy a cozy overnight accommodation, private access to your own personal Hobbit hole, an evening banquet at the Green Dragon Inn featuring beef and ale stew, whole roast chicken, freshly baked breads, and plenty of ale. And then in the mornings, you get second breakfast and 11sies served daily. And of course, you get a full private tour of the Hobbiton movie set.
That is so fabulous.
House rules: no parties. Bare feet are allowed, but wipe your feet when you go into the Green Dragon. Magical rings are permitted, but keep them secret. Keep them safe. Do not stray far at night. Never laugh at live dragons. That is a picture of the actual Green Dragon, and this is real, folks. This is real. How to book starting next Wednesday, December 14th. Folks, December 14th. Airbnb.com/Hobbiton. You can book your stay for next March. You can request a booking for a stay next March when the Hobbit holes are complete. So next Wednesday, December 14th, you can book your stay for next March. Folks, this is no joke.
This is so cool, though.
Here's
very cool.
Here's the big caveat. To request a booking, you must have a verified Airbnb profile, a history of positive reviews, and maximum occupancy is 4 persons. So one person can have have an Airbnb account that has been used and has good reviews on their account, but then you can bring 3 friends or family members.
How intriguing.
Guests are responsible for their own transportation, of course. To Auckland, round trip car transportation will be provided from Auckland to Hobbiton.
To just outside the village of Mata. Well, that's a good, healthy drive. It's a good, healthy drive. I've done it myself, going from Auckland to this set location. It's beautiful out there, and this is really very exciting. I wonder.
I have an exclusive for Torn viewers.
What is happening?
The architectural drawings.
Oh no!
For the Hobbit holes are none other than John Howe himself. Hobbiton has hired John Howe to sketch out all the different Hobbit holes. So you won't necessarily be getting Bilbo Baggins' Hobbit hole or Samwise's Hobbit hole. But John Howe is designing a whole series of Hobbit holes for the entire area.
Gosh, that's really cool. That's super, super cool. I'm in like Flynn. Do you know, I was told by Chelsea that she's got a lot more details over there on her account, sprinkled by magic. Give them a follow. And this news about John Howe coming in to do this is probably one of those delicious items that she was going to cover. I love the idea of not bringing in some rando. They didn't bring in nobody who we've never heard of. They brought in the number one Oscar-winning top of the list Tolkien artist to craft a real hobbitish environment. Way cool. It certainly gives it the credibility that makes you want to jump right on in there. And oh my goodness, y'all just, if you haven't done it yet, get your passport renewed. Get your passport renewed, people, or get it ready, because it's time to go to New Zealand in 2023. It's time to go.
Folks,
Definitely.
And this special event, this special booking for starting next Wednesday, December 14th, this is for Airbnb's preview month of March of next year. It will only cost you $10 per night.
What?
So next,
What?
It's a deal with Airbnb, Tourism New Zealand, and Hobbiton and Auckland, and everybody have partnered on this. Folks, you can stay at Hobbiton, sleep there for $10 a night next March, but you will have to book it this coming Wednesday, next Wednesday, December 14th. And folks, this is a 2,500 acre farm, and there are 44 Hobbit holes. 44 Hobbit holes.
Do you know, I'm not even gonna be able
to
go.
The booking is $10 a night.
Do you know why I can't go? I've never, ever, ever used Airbnb. Ever. Never. So I don't have a history of positive ratings, that from people I've rented from. So I can't even try. Wow. Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm kind of like, I wish this could happen for me. Now I have to go waste money doing other Airbnb rentals to get
your credibility up.
to get a couple of them in there, I guess. 2 or 3, maybe. Oh,
Ellen in the chat room says, I use Airbnb all the time. You're going with me, folks.
Okay, Ellen. It's a double date. It'll be Ellen and James, and me and Jorge will have a double date. We'll go down to New Zealand. Sounds great.
Well, folks, so there you have it. It's not a joke. This is for real. I'm going to post a story on theonering.net tomorrow with the links and the details and everything you need to know. So Hobbiton is officially turning into an Airbnb. They are converting 44 Hobbit holes into John Howe individually designed guest stays. The preview month of March 2023 will only be $10 a night. You have to be a verified good Airbnb person. You can't have a new account with no ratings. So you have to have used Airbnb before and have some reviews on your account, and hopefully most of them are good.
That's exactly my problem.
And all you need to travel to Auckland. But once you fly yourself to Auckland, Hobbiton Tours will pick you up at the airport and take you on the 2-hour car ride right to Hobbiton, and you get your own private Hobbit hole where you can walk without shoes. You can walk barefoot, and you get the whole. Imagine waking up at dawn at the 5 a.m. and the mist of dawn, and you get to open your Hobbit hole and smell that wet air and just see the sunrise over Hobbiton for $10 a night.
Oh my gosh, I'm there. If only I could get my Airbnb rating somewhere where it's acceptable. I have to have an It's like,
Durin Deathless in the chat room is like, I can't even right now. Cliff, you're shaking.
I can't, because, I used to worry about my credit score. Not anymore. Now I'm worried about my Airbnb score. That's all I'm worried about now. I guess I don't have to worry about my credit score anymore. That's so funny.
Do you have to travel during certain time? Yes, the travel is next March only. Next March only.
March 2023.
There's different bookings for each week in the month of March. So again, next Wednesday. Hold on. Next Wednesday, on New Zealand time. Hold on. Let me check the time. So yeah, March 2nd, 9th, 16th. It's all next March. December 14th at 10 a.m. New Zealand time, which would be right now it's 3:00 in Wellington.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3:00 Wednesday in Wellington. So
Yes.
10 o'clock would be 10 a.m. Wellington would be 5 hours ago. So, what is it? 6. So 1 o'clock. So 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, Tuesday. 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, Tuesday. I'll put this on the website tomorrow so everybody knows for next week. 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, Tuesday. Next week is when you can log in with your accredited, good reviewed account on Airbnb and book your $10 nights at Hobbiton.
That's excellent. And hey, New Zealand Star Wars noob, it's good to see you in the YouTube chat. Says anyone wanting to come to New Zealand, contact me on Facebook. See how friendly, wonderful and friendly the Kiwis are. They're so open and friendly to help people out. This is, I have not, Finrod. I have not been to the Weta Cave. It's one place I'm dying to go and see. I have been to Weta many, many, many times before they created the cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've never been to New Zealand, so you're already ahead of me. I'm looking forward to seeing Weta return to San Diego Comic-Con next year.
Definitely.
And in July of 2023. So, look, I think next year is going to be all about travel. We've got January 1st. Kathy is doing a Lord of the Rings cruise. You can find her in the chat room at Garfamao. So the Lord of the Rings cruise, January 1st. March, we've got these Hobbiton stays on Airbnb. And by July, we'll all be in San Diego Comic-Con. Weta is confirmed they'll be at SDCC. I don't know if they've said that publicly, but I'm just going to Green Dragon gossip that. Yes.
Let's put it out into the cosmos and manifest. Let's manifest that for Weta to come and meet with us at San Diego. Well, how about that?
Well, Cliff, we had a huge show. And again, this show was jam-packed with actual news. No Green Dragon gossip here. Ismael Cruz Cordova got his first acting nomination for the Critics' Choice Awards. We've got drone footage of Elrond and Galadriel in a forest on the set, thanks to Redanian Intelligence and Fellowship of Fans. We've got confirmation of the recasting of Adar, and we've got hints that Sauron is going to be recast. And I promise you, there's going to be more casting announcements in the future.
There will be. In fact, let's find out what happens in the news coming up in the next news cycle. I think we might be surprised. Maybe, maybe not. But you know what's really amazing? Go full screen on that John Howe thing. Look at that. Just before we close the show, and apologies to you, dear Emily. I know that you would like to, but we'll get to chat with you next week sometime. But before we end the show, and I just want to breathe and live in that space. Look at the logs all chopped and ready for the wood fire, the candlestick, the herbs and the dried veggies hanging from the rack. There's a cute little hand pump to draw well water into a miniature sink. And it is just so purely Hobbit-like to see that warm afternoon glow coming in that round window on the right-hand side. Everything about this is a place you want to inhabit. Thank you, John Howe, for coming on board to work with the people there at the Hobbit set location. It's just so fantastic. Thank you, Justin, for showing that again for all of us. We just want to live there. We want to live in Hobbiton. We want to take that energy with us and just stay there. It's the ultimate fan experience. Having been there myself, I'm telling you, it's amazing.
And I can tell you that the quality of the Hobbiton is bar none. I mean, this isn't like a roadside attraction. The folks at the Hobbiton farm really have made a great project.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's excellent. Well done, everyone. I want to compliment them and acknowledge them for having the smarts to do it that way and bring John Howe in to do it. So this is so awesome. I'm going to start renting Airbnb for no damn reason right now. Right now. I'm just going to do it so I can get some positive ratings.
7 days to get a ton of Airbnb reviews.
Oh my gosh. Where am I going to be staying? That's so funny. What a wonderful show. And yes, it was chock full of news, of great import and excitement. And, welcome to the new cast members who are joining the Rings of Power. And farewell, Joseph. How little we knew ye. How little we knew you, Joseph Mall. I hate
we will get to know you soon. I hope.
Hate mispronouncing his name. But yeah, he can come and join us and we'll talk on the air and we'll have a lovely interview sometime soon. Yeah. So is it time to say goodnight to all the wonderful Lord of the Rings fans out there?
It's time, Gracie.
To say goodnight. It's time, Gracie. Well, sleep tight, everybody, and stay warm if you're in this northern hemisphere where it's getting chilly, and keep yourselves warm. And for our friends down in the southern hemisphere, I hope you're enjoying all the summer sunshine down there. It is a really wonderful show, mostly because of you, our audience. Thank you for being so faithful.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching. Thanks for posting on Reddit. And thanks for diving into all the gossip and the news that we can have. And we'll be posting more on the OneRing.net this week with all the details and the links that you need to know.
That's right. So pay attention to what we're posting at all of our socials. And you want to check it out. The original great granddaddy of all web pages is still there. Point your web browser to www.theonering.net, and we'll see you there. Join us on Discord as well. Until next week, thank you for the excitement and for the camaraderie. Thank you for being such good company as we take this journey into Middle-earth together. And Justin, hey, thank you for helping us put on this show this week. Lovely to have you with us. All right, now, good night, everybody. I want to say we'll see you next week, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the OneRing.net. Torn Tuesday Live. Me, I'm Clifford Broadway, signing off. You can find me at QuickBeam2000. That guy Justin right there, he doesn't want to give his personal socials. He's not that kind of guy. But we love you. Come and join us again next week. Until then, good night and good luck, or as I prefer to say, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.